Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a double book review for you of two books from the same series. So this is the Forgotten Women series by Xing Zhen. I learnt how to pronounce her name the other day and I'm sure I'm still getting it wrong, which is really terrible. Anyway, so I'm reviewing two books from this series. There are 4 books in total. The 2 books we're going to be talking about today are The Leaders and The Scientists. There are also The Writers and the Artists, which I really want to get my hands on now. I received a full copy of The Leaders from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. I also received a sample copy of The Scientists, which I didn't realise it was only a sample until after I started it. And then I was very sad because it only contained 5 of the stories and I wanted to read all of them. So I bought myself a copy. So now I have been able to read all of them, which is very exciting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both books. These both came out a couple of years ago. These both came out in 2018, so they are available to buy now, and I really do recommend buying them, and just get that out there. I gave both books 4 stars as well. I thought they were both fantastic. I've talked about both of them briefly in recent reads videos, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. So each book in the series contains the stories of 48 women who fit into that category. So we've got the leaders in the first book I'm going to talk about today, the scientists in the second book I'm going to talk about today, and then within those categories they're broken down into subcategories based on what their field is, I guess. For example, in the leaders book we've got the rebels, the warriors, the rulers, the activists and the reformers. In the scientist book we have different fields of science, so we've got Earth and the universe, biology and natural sciences, medicine, psychology, elements and genetics, physics and chemistry, mathematics and technology and inventions. Both books aim to recover the stories of women that have been largely forgotten by history. There were a few that I'd heard of and I was vaguely familiar with their stories, but I learnt more about them from these books. Most of these women I hadn't heard of, and it was really exciting to have their stories brought to life. I said I was going to talk about them one by one. I'm kind of talking about them both at the same time. But anyway, so focusing on the leaders to start with. I thought was really good about this book in particular was that the author presented a really balanced view of these stories. So these women are important historically for a number of reasons, and not all of them necessarily good. So I think when I spoke about this in my recent reads, I gave the example of Isabella of Spain, who is hugely significant in the history of Spain, and Spain wouldn't be the country it is today without her influence. She did a lot that helped unify it as a country, a lot of cultural stuff she's responsible for, but she was also responsible for the Spanish Inquisition, which was less good as it killed an awful lot of people. And so it was very balanced. It didn't just say these women are great and we should celebrate them. It said these women are important historically and we need to recognise that, and not just because of good things they did but also because of bad things they did. So I thought that was really cleverly done. Some of the stories I really liked. I enjoyed learning a bit more about Catherine de Medici. I didn't really know very much about her, but I knew the name, know a little bit about the Medici family. A little while since I read this now, so I'm just trying to remember which other ones. Yeah, some of the ones from like South America, so the Mirabal sisters was a really interesting story. People I'd never heard of that were hugely significant. I mean, all of these stories were really impactful in their own way. What I also really liked about this book in particular, maybe slightly more than the other ones, was the huge range of diversity within the stories that were chosen. They were from all across history, not any particular period, and also from all over the world. So often, particularly with what we're like in the West, we tend to focus on our own history and like make that the central focus, but this collection included stories from African women, Asian women, South American women, as well as European and North American women, and really brought their stories to life, and I found that really powerful. I think the last section on the reformers I did feel was maybe a little bit too US heavy. I think there are lots of other female reformers that could have been included, but I understand the limitations of only having 48 stories to try and choose just 48 people to represent in this book. And the women that they did choose for each of these categories really did fit. They were really significant. So I guess what I'm saying is I'd be interested to see more volumes. Like, tell us more about more powerful and important women. Okay, moving on to the scientists. This was really interesting to me because I find science fascinating, and I've recently also been reading Delusions of Gender and buddy reading with a friend. It's a non-fiction book about the science behind our understanding of gender difference and where these ideas come from. One of the things the author Cordelia Fine talks about in that book is stereotype threat, which is kind of what leads to things like imposter syndrome. It's to do with having the lack of people to look up to, so only having negative stereotypes about yourself to fall back on. And I've noticed this since I started reading that book. I did pretty well in my maths and science GCSEs at school, yet if anyone asked me, I would say, oh no, I'm terrible at maths, or I'm terrible at science, I don't understand it. Well, I clearly wasn't, but it just didn't seem like a field that was necessarily a comfortable place for me. And so that's why books like this are really, really important. I think this one may be even more so than some of the others. I suppose I say that because I already do see myself as a leader in several aspects of my life, whereas if I'd read this book when I was a teenager, maybe would have given me more of a push to explore the sciences more. And like saying that, I don't have regrets. I'm very happy with the way my life has turned out, and I feel like I'm finally doing what I've been called to do. But again, I've struggled in my field of theology because it's been really hard to find female role models to look up to. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it, why I'm pushing to try and do research and hopefully get a doctorate so that I can be a role model for other women coming afterwards. So if you know any young women that are interested in the sciences, definitely buy them this book, or if you want to try and encourage them to be interested in the sciences, buy them this book, because then they will find lots of amazing role models that they can look up to. So as I said, I got a sample of this from NetGalley and I was disappointed because I wanted to read all the stories, so I bought myself a hard copy. I'm really glad that I ended up buying this hard copy much sooner than I expected, because the illustrations in these books are gorgeous, but in the ebook that I had for the leaders, there was one illustration for each story. In this hard copy, it's just so beautifully done, so every page has little details on it. Where's that one I just found? There are also full page illustrations. I'll show you my favourite one in a second, but there's also little pictures on most of the pages, and then there's some really beautiful big illustrations like these, and it's just so stunning, so beautiful. At the back of the book there's just little bits of information about all the illustrators, so where you can find out more about them and their styles. And I thought that was really awesome as well. They're just such beautiful illustrations, and I'm so excited to be able to show them to you, because that was quite difficult to do with the ebook copy. Again, in this book, 48 stories inspiring women scientists. Again, quite a wide range of nationalities covered. Slightly less on the historical ones in this, basically due to the development of science and scientific understanding, but there were still a couple. So there was Maria the Jewess, and Taputi I think was the other one, and there were a couple more as well of ancient scientists that have largely been forgotten from history but were really significant in the earliest days of our understanding of science, and then a lot more recent ones, really significant women who have either been forgotten or have been kind of deliberately written out of scientific history by the men that they were working with. So it talks about a few people that contributed to discoveries that the male scientists involved won the Nobel Prize for, but the female scientists involved often didn't. It's kind of an attempt to start to redress the balance of that. I think that's all I want to say about these books. As I said, I gave both of them 4 stars. There are 2 more in the series, which are The Writers and the Artists, and I definitely want to get my hands on those. They've gone right to the top of my wish list to buy when I have some money in my book budget. I find art fascinating, so I definitely am keen to learn more about female artists, because again, particularly in Western culture, we tend to focus on the male geniuses, as we do probably in all of these categories. And so I'd like to learn a bit more about female artists. But The Writers particularly is one that I definitely want to read, because that's probably the field I most associate myself with, and it would be really inspiring to find some more role models, I guess. I think that's everything I'm going to say. I'd love to hear, if you've read either of these books, what you thought of them, or if you have any recommendations for me about like more forgotten women from history and where I can learn more about them, that would be really cool. I have a few kind of similar non-fiction books on my NetGalley shelf to get to, so I'm looking forward to reading them and giving you reviews on them when I have the time. I'm currently reading one which is a collection of essays and excerpts from longer works by significant women in the feminist movement in the 60s, so it's going to take me a little while to get through because it's quite a long book, but I'm looking forward to bringing you a review of that when I've actually finished it. Yeah, so let me know if you're interested in reading these books, or if you just want to let me know that you're here and that you've made it this far in the video, then leave me a woman doing something emoji like a woman scientist or one of that type of emoji, if that makes sense. You can also like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already and would like to hear more from me. You can also follow me on my social media. All that information is always listed for you in the description box below. But that's it for today, so thank you so much for watching and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!